How does XRP significantly rises in prices? We're going to discuss that today. I've got a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas I've been wanting to share with people for years. I just started my YouTube channel. Now I'm here with Mac, collaborating with him because he's always got some alpha. A lot of that alpha we steal from Smoke. Why not, right? He makes life so easy. But guys, before we get into it, please like and subscribe. Smash that like. Like I say sometimes, smash it as hard as you can without breaking your phone. Make sure nobody's close. We don't want you to hit somebody by mistake. And we appreciate you being with us today. Max, what are we talking about today? What do we got for them?
Well, it is from Smoke, but in reality, both him and I, we do follow each other and we do cite a lot of our work and so on. So he just makes life easier. Let's jump into what we have and why it matters to you.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. So just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.
First thing we're going to pull up is literally this citation. And in the documentation, you will see some things that are kind of eye-opening to say the least. So for one, Smoke mentions Ripple equals a global financial transaction system, checkmark, documented. What's he talking about? Well, is it all smoke and mirrors? No pun intended. But when you see some key things here, I want to point out this highlight that's right here. Who maintains the integrity of the ledger? Now, you're going to hear Jesse talk a lot about what he feels is the true unified ledger, but trusted ledger owners or actors by validation. And in the highlight circle is permissioned publicly shared ledger. For example, a distributed ledger, for example, Ripple, a global financial transaction system. That's major. Now, if you're wondering where the source came from, it actually comes from, adapted from Gretsch and Camilleri back in 2017, right? Page 37. And you can look that up for yourself. So jump more into this and why it matters to you. I want to point out some other key things. And that is this. Shout out to this particular guy, Con G, if I'm pronouncing it right. It says most people have no idea, none, what the Internet of Value truly means. Well, geez, I'll zoom back in for just a brief minute. Because at the end of the day, this guy over here sure as the heck does, and he's going to get into some alpha on why he's going to pound home this guy's key finding. So we pull this up once again. It's the whole idea that the Internet of Value truly means such as this, a new global financial system and how it's emerging. Think about that for a moment. So what is really emerging here? Well, payments, real world assets, derivatives, everything is moving to the blockchain. Imagine if XRP captured just 10% of this growing market, the potential would be massive. I've stated this for years. I always felt as though that the derivatives market is the biggest whopper of them all. Let's zoom in on the visual and why it matters to you. So for one, you see kind of like how this comes together, right? You see, for example, financial markets and in transition, tokenization, and the potential of XRP. Now you see on the diagram kind of like where it shows Swift. Well, we know that Brad Garlinghouse, with his big announcement stating that they have acquired Hidden Road, right? And that's major. Well, for example, XRP market cap, at least at the time, 121.6 billion. And you see, for example, Hidden Road, 3 trillion trading volume, Swift, 5 trillion per day. And again, I'll zoom out just a bit so we can see it a little bit better. Don't ever forget the change of scale. And that's a $2.5 trillion difference. Now that change of scale, again, think about those little squares, little red squares, and then the big green rectangles, because those big green rectangles represents the derivatives market. And I do feel as though XTC will really shine there, but at the same time, I think XRP will as well. So 1 quadrillion, that's major, right? And on the bottom part, let's get into this for a second, is recognizing where we zoom in. Because when we zoom in, we see, like it says, Swift, real world assets, derivatives, and other. Says financial instruments are increasingly being tokenized and integrated into blockchain systems. Jesse and I did a update. He showed, for example, Larry Fink, that was earlier today, but he talked about all this stuff. And again, like I said, requirements engineer, Bachelor of Science in Business, comes from Kanji. He's got some background, which is cool. And some other sources, XRP market cap from Masari, Hidden Road, Swift. Again, all the citations, I highlight them for you if you can see it. But to me, this is a major big deal because if we capture, again, just 10% of this, what would XRP be worth, right? So think about that for a moment. All right, as we jump into this other part, here's how XRP significantly rises, of course, to a high price. Some people just, that's all you care about, right? Well, as more banks adopt Ripple's DLT solution for international payments, the network's transaction volume will, in fact, increase. Payment services or providers, I should say, like Finastra, Volante, CGI, will leverage the cross-currency RTGS, which stands for Real-Time Gross Settlements, capability and neutral liquidity marketplace of the XRP ledger. This will further boost the growth of the XRP network. XRP supply will constantly decrease because a small portion is destroyed with every transaction, which is great because we know it's a big supply. But with a limited supply and growing demand, the value of XRP is expected to rise. As the network expands and XRP usage increases, its price will rise significantly. Although XRP has experienced volatility, Ripple believes that this will stabilize over time. Well, guess what? What would be the enabler for it to really be stabilized? Well, regulations. Everybody's pointed out for the longest time, but as demand for XRP as a bridge currency becomes more consistent, the price will stabilize. The combination of rising network activity and decreasing supply will push the price higher. This will make XRP more valuable, okay, as a reliable asset. And here's documentation. Don't take my word for it, just with text. Take this and look at it. Here's the visual. XRP Ledger, the world's open and neutral liquidity marketplace. Last video, I believe, or within the last day or so, between Jesse and I, Jesse mentioned specifically about that liquidity marketplace. So this pounds home what Jesse's talking about. And again, there's the highlight. Over time, as banks adopt Ripple's distributed ledger solution for international payments, you see how it all comes together. And that bottom part, XRP is posed to become the best liquidity vehicle for international funds transfer, a market with annual volume of 180 trillion in payments. Well, my gosh, I mean, you look at that from that perspective, that's a big deal. And we know that JP Morgan does 10 trillion, I guess, daily, which is about 30% of it all. So again, is Ripple part of that mix? The answer is simply yes. All right, before we kick it over to Jesse, just real quick, jump back to the other part that was highlighted. Smoke says this is all documented. And again, back to pounding home why Jesse does all these big deep dives. Role of XRP. Over time, the Ripple protocol becomes widely adopted. Demand for XRP may increase, leading to increase in price. Investors can directly own a stake of Ripple, the value transport layer of the internet. Jesse was talking about harnessing the power of the internet. Like, it's not really, nobody has tokenized the internet. That's the point. That's always been the point. That's why there's so much emphasis on tokenization. Let's pull this up as well because you need to see another visual. Historically, information protocols, again, the concept of the internet, like HTTP and SMTP, were impossible to monetize directly. Ripple Labs is not a financial services provider and thus does not charge for using the network. The Ripple protocol, however, could be in fact monetized through its native currency XRP. Who's been telling you this lately on our shows? It's Jesse. So it's not him just citing things out of thin air. This holds weight. This pounds home the deep dives, in my opinion. Last tab, and I promise we'll kick it over to him. This one says specifically, applications connect to the XRP ledger through HTTP or WebSocket APIs. That part about APIs is major because there's your interoperability, there's your internet of trust, and there, ladies and gentlemen, is your quant. Take it away, Jesse.
Yeah, man. So this is something I've been wanting to discuss with the community for a long time. I just started doing YouTube videos like 2 months ago, and but I spent over 9,000 hours researching XRP, and I don't even know if I've ever heard anybody. I've probably watched like 7,000 hours worth of videos and maybe another 1,000 or 2,000 hours research, just me digging. But I I don't know if I've ever heard anybody explain that, this is an internet. Like, this is not a huge payment platform or a huge global financial system. Like, this is a bit more. Like, I don't think that's the right terminology. This is an internet. Like, we're literally with the XRP, not financial advice. We're not financial advisors, okay? But with XRP, you're capturing the value of an internet. And when I started looking into that concept a while back, I was like, okay, if I want to understand what the potential of XRP is, I have to understand what is the value of the internet we have today. So, the World Wide Web, the internet of information we have today, how much data is flowing through that, and what is the value of the internet that we have today? And the reality is it's one of the only commodities I think that we cannot measure its value. It's so valuable you can't even measure its utility or its utilitic value and all the advantages it brings to society. You can't even measure its value just for one country alone, let alone the whole world, right? So if you look, when the internet protocol started, the internet of information, it started by, let's say, just sending emails, and there was a few websites. And then people started sending pictures, for example, and then they started sending little videos and little movies, and then the iPhone came out and we started producing more videos, and so on and so forth, and TikTok and YouTube, and now we produce more. That's all data, right? Like, a video is way more data than a picture, and a picture is way more data than a PDF file. So the amount of data that we started moving on this internet protocol with videos is insane, right? Like, we create more data right now with our phones in 2 minutes with videos that we might have created in the last 20 years combined. I mean, it's insane. So, but what's happening is they're building a new internet. This is not a joke. Excuse me. So, like, XRP is an internet. It's not just, like I said, it's not just a payment network, or like, this is an internet. And if people want to understand, like, that's why, like, people think like, oh, this person's crazy for saying 10,000 XRP. Honestly, like, this is my, they're gonna think I'm crazy, but I wouldn't even be surprised if the potential is 50,000, 100,000. Like, because you're capturing the value of an internet. Like, it's complete insanity. Because if you look at the value of the internet we have today, for example, like, just the fact that we can, again, let's go back on the case of data. How much data are we moving through the internet of information right now? It's insane. Like, we're uploading like billions and billions of movies or of little video clips like per day. It's insane the amount of data that we're moving right now. So imagine if you have a token that's capturing that value. Because, like, right now, if I send a video, it goes through the internet protocol to reach you, right? But there's no token there capturing the value. But with XRP, with the internet of value, when you're going to send value, packets of value, instead of packets of information, it's packets of value. Because the interledger protocol, that's what it does. You're packaging, sorry, packaging value, and you're moving it over to protocol. And the XRP ledger is what allows that asset, that value, to be converted into any other value. So one asset to another asset via the XRP ledger, via XRP. That's why it's that main liquidity layer. But it's literally a token sitting in the middle of the protocol, technically. So it's capturing all the value that's going through this internet, which we don't have today. Okay, so I mean, once this would grow, because it's not only like derivatives market is insane, yes, but eventually it's everything, because they're tokenizing everything. Stocks, bonds, derivative, real estate. Like I said, like, real estate, restaurant chains are going to be tokenizing their coupons and bonuses or whatever, like their points, rewards card, and everything's being tokenized eventually, right? So again, like, if people people need to understand that we cannot even measure the value of the internet for one country alone. Okay, just the fact that you can talk to anybody in the world, okay, instantly for free on video, just that alone, the value, you can't even put a price on that. Let alone anybody can learn anything for free on the internet. They don't even need to pay. They can just learn anything almost for free. Like, that alone, you can't put a price on it. Like, there's so many things, it's what we call utility value, the utility. But with XRP, in this new internet of value that they're building, now we've got a token that's capturing the value of that internet, not of that network, of that internet. This is something I've been wanting to share with the community and with the world for a long time. Like, this, like, we cannot measure the value in the internet. And technically, XRP is capturing the value of this new internet. So to understand the potential, you have to you have to study what is the value of the internet we have today, and we don't know because you can't measure it. It's so insane. And it's same for quant QNT. It's going to capture the value of the internet of trust. Quant Overledger is a new internet. That's the internet of trust. XRP is the internet of value. So that's something I had in my heart, man, for like 4 or 5 years. I was always thinking about that, and I didn't have time to create a YouTube channel. I was very hesitant on starting a channel, and but yeah, man, I'm glad you brought it up. I'm gonna talk about it.
I'm glad to bring it up as well. One thing I want to point out to you guys is these particular, the naming of what they come up with. So, for example, when you hear the term Finternet, now Augustine Carstens introduced that. Well, think about Finternet. What's the F? The way I look at it, financial internet. There is a clip in which you've heard, and we'll probably have put it, at the intro of this particular video. But Gilbert Verdian talking about that the day and age of Google being the internet of the information age, and that was something. People say that data is the new oil. Well, Google captured what I consider centralized oil. To a sense, if you look at history, it's like look at the early 20th century, Standard Oil, right? We know the history about that and so on. Well, Google was like the Standard Oil, but for data, centralized data. Moving forward, it's like, what will be the next era of all this with the internet? Well, it has to be the financial internet, like capturing tokenization. And you see Quant at the forefront of that. You see Ripple at the forefront of that. You see your Stellars. Anything that's really ISO, but what ones are at that, the head of it all, like stand out compared to the other ones. I mean, I hold algo, I hold my XDCs, my iotas, and so on. I think all of these ones are an instrument, but the bottom line is recognizing that, again, which one would capture like the most. Is it XDC with derivatives? Is it XRP with derivatives? Again, I like being diversified, but I know some of you guys, for example, you focus just on XRP and XLM, and that's fine. None of this is financial advice, but that's my key takeaway is, yes, this next era of the internet. The internet is always, blooming out. It's like a constant innovation that just evolves, if you will. And we see what's going on with AI. I think obviously Hedera is going to stand out, especially with that. We have a video coming up on that. Do you have any closing thoughts you would like to share with everybody, Jesse?
No, just the idea is that people have to keep in mind these are internets that are being built here. These are just not. This is not just a payment platform or a network like this. The XRP is the internet of trust. Same for XLM, maybe like a smaller internet, because I don't think XLM is going to get remotely the volume that XRP is going to get. That being said, XLM is still a lot cheaper than XRP right now if you look at market cap. Not financial advice, just saying. But yeah, these are internets. These are internet protocols, and you have tokens that are capturing the value of these future internets. So XRP Ledger, internet of value, Quant, internet of trust. And the reason Gilbert Verdian, there was many reasons why he built the QNT token the way he structured it. But one of the reasons is to hyper decentralize this network, this new internet of trust, by everybody having to hold it to host gateways and hold it in your wallet as a source of ID and different things. The way he structured it is so it creates this hyper decentralization, and it also secures the network. But literally, we are literally hosting the internet with our QNT tokens, which is absolutely insane. Like, we are literally hosting an API gateway that allows the data or value to move through the quant overledger. Like, it's it's insane. Like, it doesn't get crazier than this. And people are just talking about Bitcoin, right? Because they're following mainstream media. And Bitcoin is 1,500, like 1,200 or 1,500 times more expensive than quant right now. So again, it's never financial advice. We're just sharing ideas and thoughts here. But it's craziness. It's craziness. But we're just blessed to know about it. Honestly, we're just blessed to know about it.
We are blessed to know about it, and we're glad to share our findings with you guys in the community and so on. Do us a solid if you listen to the entire outline, type in this keyword, and that is what's the phrase? High price. And we'll know that you listen to the entire outline. On behalf of myself and Jesse over at Apex Crypto Consulting NFA, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. And again, big shout out to Smoke. We'll see you guys on the next one.
See you guys.